So today I want to talk about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and that dynamic because I feel like a lot is being missed here when it comes to their situation. There are a lot of people saying that Kim's jealous of the new wife. A lot of people were looking down on Kim for leaving Kanye when he had his breakdown, X, Y, and Z. So I want to talk about all of that. Right here. Okay. Now, when it was introduced that Kanye West had bipolar, everyone was like, oh, poor Kanye, and all of that. And then when he had his breakdown, everyone was like, oh, Kim's a bad person because she should have stuck by her man. She's left him in his time of need. Not taking into consideration, or maybe not even being aware of the fact that being with someone who is mentally ill is very, very challenging because they reflect the patterns of a toxic and abusive dynamic. Whether they intend to or not, this is the type of dynamic that is fostered when you are dealing with someone who is mentally ill, okay? And that's why they have support groups for people who are dealing with mentally ill people. In fact, research shows that a lot of people who are toxic and abusive either have mental illness issues or attachment style issues, mainly the avoidant attachment style issue, right? So whether he's intentionally wanting to be abusive doesn't really matter. The fact is, him being mentally ill fosters that toxic and abusive dynamic. That is what it does. And I don't think a lot of people are aware that that is what goes on in these situations. It isn't just poor Kanye West and, everybody's just got to support him because he's just down on his luck right now. Poor Kanye West is going to do a lot of abusive and toxic things like he did when he publicly humiliated Kim, like he did when he decided that he was going to move next door to Kim for their kids. That was absolutely ridiculous. It was so he could keep tabs on Kim and basically control her. Things like that the public didn't see. They were like, oh, he wants to be with his kids. Of course, he wants to create some sort of normal situation and make it so that everything's good. No, he wanted to keep tabs on Kim and her new relationship and basically harass them both until that relationship broke down. That is what he wanted to do. Okay. And he used the kids to do it. Kim was dragged for leaving that relationship, but honestly, I don't blame her. Now, a lot of people put his behavior down to his mental illness, but let's not forget, he has a history of behaving in this way. Like if we go back to Amber Rose and when he was with her, he took her on, he love bombed her, he told her it didn't matter whether she was a stripper, he wouldn't even care if she was a prostitute, she was the woman for him. And then he started telling her what she should and shouldn't wear and basically controlling her until she decided that enough was enough. And when she decided enough was enough, he smeared her publicly to everybody. He called her a whore. He just basically dragged her, right? This is what is known as the smear campaign in your everyday type toxic and abusive dynamic. And when it happens with celebrities, it seems different, but it's exactly the same. He dragged her publicly and everybody just followed suit and dragged her too. And here's the thing, along with the controlling behavior, it was actually rumored that a part of why she left him in the first place was because of the dynamic he had with Kim Kardashian. She didn't like it. She didn't think it was appropriate, X, Y, and Z, right? And he did exactly the same thing to Kim. He got with her. He love bombed her. She was the most amazing thing ever. He actually went a step further and cleared out her entire wardrobe for her and gave her a whole new set of clothes, right? And okay, when he did it with Kim, it was from a different kind of perspective because he then had the fashion line. So he was going with the help me promote my stuff angle, fashion line type thing. But then it continued and manifested itself further as him just controlling the way that she dressed, the way that she looked, her hair, everything. Basically her general presentation. So he essentially did the same thing as he did with Amber. He souped it up a little bit. He made it a little bit more sophisticated, but it's basically the same, right? They had kids together. And then when she decided she'd had enough of his controlling behavior and left, he became obsessed with her. He stalked her. And I hear, don't correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was a little bit obsessed with Amber Rose too when she first broke it off with him before he moved on to Kim. But I don't quote me on that. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think I heard something about that. Anyway, back to Kim. So they broke it off, and then he stalked her. He was completely obsessed with her, not unlike what toxic and abusive people do. There are three main reactions that they'll have when you leave them. They'll either leave you completely alone, like ghost you as though you never even existed, and that's by far the best thing that could ever happen. And then there's this stalking that he did, being everywhere she is and trying to maintain that control, even though they're separated, using the kids to control her and X, Y, and Z. And then there's the third one, which is the worst type, which is where they stalk you, control you, and they become more violent. Whatever controlling behavior they had in the relationship, they amp up. They become physical with it. And it can also end in them literally trying to or actually ending your life. So leaving a toxic dynamic can be really, really dangerous. But we witnessed him stalking her, okay? We witnessed him harassing her. We witnessed him smearing her name publicly, okay? And this was less effective, I think, with Kim because she had a platform. She already had her fans and stuff like that. Whereas Amber Rose got completely buried with it for the longest time. She found her power in the end, but initially she was buried by the smear campaign and all of that. Like, everybody hated her, right? Especially when she spoke up about Kim and his dynamic initially. So then what does he do? After stalking her, after being completely obsessed with her, and this, that, and the third, what does he do? He then switches completely. 2 months after their divorce, he's married. He's not just dating, he's married to a woman that worked for Yeezy. What? Who does that? A toxic person does that. That's who does that. Who switches things up just like that. Like suddenly 1 minute they're obsessed, the next minute they're totally in love and married to somebody completely different. Who looks like him, by the way. And now he's controlling the way that this new wife presents herself. So the pattern is just continuing on and on and on, right? And here's the thing, not only did he go out and marry someone else 2 months after their divorce, the person that he chooses to marry is someone that Kim had a problem with whilst they were married. Like, Kim was not happy with the way in which him and his new wife would interact with each other. She called it out, she said they were flirting and she didn't like it. So then what does he do? He goes and marries her. Like, what? What he's essentially doing is triangulating, right? He can't get the power the way that he's been trying to get the power by obsessing and stalking and all the rest of it. So he's tried a new tactic, which is flipping the script and triangulating the two people. So now she is being devalued by comparison because the new wife looks like him, only is the natural version, right? So by default, Kim is being devalued in comparison. It's very subtle, but it's still there. And also, of course, you're going to have a problem with it because this is the same girl that was causing friction in our marriage. But people who don't understand this are accusing him of being jealous and wanting to control Kanye, when in actual fact, Kanye is the one trying to continue to control Kim, emotionally at least. Right, he can't physically control her, but he's definitely trying to keep the reins when it comes to that emotional control. So there's a very, very distinctive pattern of toxicity going on here, perpetrated by Kanye, that cannot be denied here throughout all three relationships. And I pray for the new girl because, quite frankly, this pattern doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon, right? Now, some may argue that it's because of his mental illness that he's behaving in this way. However, this pattern goes way beyond him being diagnosed with bipolar. Now, some may argue he had the issue but wasn't diagnosed. But either way, whether he was mentally ill then, now, or this is because of his mental disorder, the fact remains. The pattern is toxic and abusive. Anyway, those are my thoughts about that particular situation. Let me know yours in the comments and let's keep this conversation going. And until the next time, live boldly, live empowered, live from the inside out. Bye for now.